When you eat cornflakes in the morning, there's a few things you need to keep in mind. 1. It's the last box of cornflakes made by passionate factory workers. And 2. It's not a corny joke. It's the scorchy smoke of a hot-tempered corporate overlord. Brace yourselves, because you're about to be schmolled.
And now, H-Town's most exciting radio podcast, the Houston Szmul Show. Home of trends, pop culture, current events, and much more. From this point on, you are under the influence of the Grandmaster. There's no turning back. Here he is, New York Times best-selling author and National/Radio Hall of Fame inductee, the man himself, the one and only, the Most High, the Grandmaster, Szmul Mars.
Well, they're finally here. The fresh winds and blossoming green fields of the spring months. For an industrial city like Houston, that's something to laugh about. But regardless, it's the sacred city. Speaking of fresh, there's a fresh and new intro for the show. You just saw it, and don't lie, it's badass. Good evening, everyone. This is Szmul Mars, who came to this world to awaken the minds of the masses. It was he who first preached the influence in the north side of Houston. It was he who was ridiculed, mocked, and rejected by many, and ultimately paid the ultimate price for your awakening. Hit that subscribe button and follow the Holy Trinity. Suscitare unum, suscitare mutos. As an anointed Szmuler, please spread the influence to every corner of the earth and cyberspace. But before you go out into the world, be sure you eat a hearty breakfast at the start of your day, because you're going to need that energy. After all, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. So let's go back to your beloved cornflakes cereal. It's not easy being the CEO of a big cereal enterprise. There's pressure to make profit, especially when your shareholders keep asking for big returns, let alone when your coworkers complain about low wages and poor working conditions. The threat of a worker strike is imminent. When you're a greedy corporate overlord and you encounter a strike, there's no room to reconcile with your unionized workers, or at least that would be your first thought. At that point, you think you need an iron fist to bring order to your factories. This was the case with Frosted Flakes. Fat Tony had to put down a rebellion at one of his factories using an iron fist, and boy did he fail to scare anyone. When you're a fat tiger and you can't strike fear to a striking workforce, you know damn well you've been downgraded to a mascot, especially when it's all captured on video. Therefore, an aggressive response is not the right way to settle such matter, let alone harsh working conditions to begin with. So treat your workers right, or prepare to be humiliated and brought down to your knees. Don't believe so? Well, open those eyes and prepare to be schmolled. Lo and behold. What is scarier than a tiger charging at you and ramming your front gate? How about this? The massive insurance bill for damages and repairs to your gate. If not, then a massive letter denying your insurance claim. At that point, it's just cheaper to have a funeral after getting killed by an angry tiger. Seems like the latter is what the guy here wanted since he was slow to move. The tiger, however, chose not to grant him his wish. I sentence you to die by stressful repair costs, said the tiger. In other news, back to the main storyline. This is what happens when you're the CEO of a Fortune 500 cereal company and treat your employees like crap. They go on strike. As recently mentioned, the price of Frosted Flakes has gone up. This means the supply of Frosted Flakes has gone up too. Tony the Tiger, however, has denied his workers a raise despite the increased workload. The result? Frosted Flakes employees cease productivity and go on strike. And not only that, they also demand higher wages and better treatment. In addition, the employees have dumped factory corn all over the premises with the hopes of their demands being met. This enraged Tony the Tiger and came running to the factory, yelling at his workers to get back to work. But one employee, however, was not intimidated by angry Tony. After all, he's seen workplace abuse for so long that nothing scares him anymore. He's been desensitized. This makes working at Amazon look like child's play. So you Amazon workers, stop and complaining and get back to work. Now, let's focus on you, dear Szmuler. 1. This guy felt safer behind the fence than you did behind your phone screen. Says a lot about your miserable life. 2. You flee faster from that uncomfortable person you know that you just encountered in public than this man did from the tiger. Worst part, you were not being chased at all. So yeah, you might want to reevaluate your filthy life. Moving on to our next story. Maybe, just maybe, Szmul Mars got the wrong impression. Perhaps the tiger is a zookeeper and is making sure that the human stays inside the enclosure. Nobody wants a wild human roaming around. Common sense. The tiger wants to keep his job. Times are rough these days, especially in the tiger workforce. But it's safe to say, the tiger has secured his job. He might even be Employee of the Month. Typical employers. Just filthy recognition for employees, but no raises. Pizza party might cheer them up. Just saying. Alright. Moving on. You know damn well what time it is. It's that time when Szmul Mars takes you out of this world and into a realm of adventures. And such journey is a bumpy one. So buckle up and hold on tight because Szmul Mars is taking you for the ride of your lives. All aboard, and here we go. Tony is the CEO of a Fortune 500 company named Frosted Flakes. Apart from being a fat business cat, Tony lives a luxurious rich boy life. He shares pictures and reels of himself on social media, flexing his lifestyle. All the while, Tony has his employees underpaid and working in poor conditions, especially those working at the factory. For the longest time, the Frosted Flakes factory employees have been complaining about the wages and the hazardous conditions. Reports of this have even made it to social media and news outlets to no avail. Tony just won't listen. He's too busy sunbathing in the Bahamas with his billion-dollar yacht. One day, the factory workers wouldn't take it no more. The workers banded together and unionized. They demanded better wages, treatment, and working conditions. In an act of demonstration and defiance, the factory workers began dumping the cereal corn all over the factory. Upon hearing this, Tony became so angry and furious and rushed to the factory to put everything in order. He was in such a hurry to put down the rebellion that he didn't bother to put on some clothes. As Tony approached the factory front gate, which had been closed off by the employees, runs at full speed and slams his whole body against it to break it open. Unfortunately, the gate didn't bust open. Tony has come to realize that he was not as powerful as he was. His employees are rebelling against him, and he couldn't put order. He can't even exert his will against his own factory gate. Tony noticed one employee walking around the premises with not a care in the world. Perhaps some drunk employee late for work. Even that employee was not scared of Tony, which worsened the blow on Tony's ego. Tony's powerful iron fist has become brittle. It turns out the employees had left the factory by the time Tony got there, except for the drunk employee walking around nonchalantly. The factory workers had now marched into the city to protest at the steps of the Frosted Flakes headquarters building. The whole ordeal was now public, which went viral on social media and news outlets. Tony was now facing controversy for his treatment of employees and his lack of response. Many consumers were now boycotting Frosted Flakes with the hopes of Tony meeting the demands of his workers. His competitors made things worse by giving their own employees a huge raise to make themselves look progressive, unlike Tony. In an attempt to save his business and reputation, Tony finally gave in to the pressure and met all the demands from his employees. This made all of the Frosted Flakes employees happy, and so they returned to work with a sense of victory. Tony was now taking less money for himself and giving more to his employees. He felt humiliated and defeated. A tiger brought down by sheep. A good way to die 1,000 times, just like Napoleon said 200 years ago. Tony was now questioning his career choices. Was this corporate and capitalist world really for him? A question that was slowly destroying him from the inside. But one thing was clear. Entrepreneurship is a bitch, or rather, a pussy. Grrr. The end. Well, that was great, wasn't it? One hell of a story. That goes for all of you business owners, especially you so-called online business influencers. If you ever make it big, don't forget where you come from, or else you will become the next Tony the Tiger, toppled by your own peasants. You may have the money, but they have the numbers. But above all, They know your factory more than you do. And that says a lot. Well, thank you very much for congregating on this 14th episode. Hopefully, you had a blast because Szmul Mars definitely did. Again, thank you for your listenership and viewership. This is Szmul Mars, transmitting live from the Houston North Side. And as always, stay tuned for more episodes. You have been Szmuled. Till next time.
The Houston Szmul Show, the Space City's #1 radio podcast show, making the space between us even smaller since 2023.